saw a flower growing in the dark. It looked so pretty and it was unique. I had to bend down just to have a peek. Hello, old friend. Really good to see you once again. Hello, old friend. Really good to see you once again. Hello, welcome to Bath Street Blues. Today we're going to take a look at Hello Old Friend by Eric Clapton. We're going to go through the chords. I'm going to show you some different ways to play those chords to get a more open sound, shall we say. But really we're going to be looking at that introduction motif that plays throughout the song. So as opposed to it being like a singular line of a note that moves, we're going to play it with chords and get it to sound nice and full, so that when you do come out of the chorus and go into that motif, it doesn't drop like a bag of nails and lose all dynamic build-up that you've created. So this is the line. See, it's a really nice, simple line. Played on a pedal steel and a bunch of other things. Albert Lee would just bend and do all the gracious things that he'd do, with him being a country boy, if you didn't know. So, the first shape we're going to play is here, and the melody line's there at the top, the D on the E string. Now, we could say that this is a fancy chord, or we could just say that it's a variation of G major and keep it simple that way. So the first chord is a G major. So your A shape up at the 10th fret. So the bass is here on the 10th fret of the A string, and then barring with your ring finger across the D, G and B. So that's the shape that we're looking at. However, we're going to only play the top three strings of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our ring and little finger, and we're going to play the 12th fret on the G and the B string, like so. And then the first finger we're going to put on the 10th fret of the E string, like so. Now, I sometimes hit the D string. It doesn't sound bad because D is the 5th of G, which is the chord we're playing. And then we're going to take this shape and we're going to slide it down. So our first finger is at the 5th fret and our ring and little finger are at the 7th fret. So, and this is a variation of a D major shape. So again, the same shape I showed you just. It's exactly the same thing, but as opposed to it being in G, it's in D. We're then going to play a stock C major chord here. So as opposed to playing your full bar, we're just going to take it from the octave on the D string like so. So that's 10 on the D, 9 on the G, and then 8 on the B and E. Like so, and then we're going to slide that shape down so that our ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the D string. So far we have this. And now the next chord that we're going to come to, although the chordal backing is a G major, what this is going to be is a variation of a D. So back to this shape that I showed you. But what we're going to do is we're going to change the finger in slightly. So the ring and middle finger are going to be at the 7th fret of the G and the B string, and our first finger is going to be at the 5th fret of the E string, like so. And this will leave the maneuverous pinky finger to play the melody line on the 7th fret, and then pulling off to the 5th fret, like so. Now it's a D major, but because we're here and we're playing the B on the 7th fret of the E string, that makes it a D major 6. Very fancy. That's one to note down. So, but we're going to do it like this. So that all together, played slowly, is like this. So we'll come to the verse. Now, it's got quite a bop to it, quite reminiscent of the Tremolos or the Maverick. The Mavericks do a really good version of In the Midnight Moonlight Hour. Here Comes My Baby. Cat Stevens wrote it, I think. Anyway, so our first chord is a G major, followed by a D major, then by a C major. So that's a C major 7 there, and we're just simply removing the first finger off of the 1st fret of the B string, and then coming to the 3rd fret of the B string with a little finger. So now that line there from the open B string to the D on the B at the 3rd fret, garden, it's a melody. Sorry, it's the vocal line which is being doubled up on the guitar. Again, another great thing that if you can incorporate that into other things that you do is really going to improve your performances from a dynamic standpoint and a timbre standpoint as well. Just the sound of it's going to improve. So G major, D major, C major 7, 9. So it's a C major 9 because this note here is a D. And if we're talking the C major scale, C is followed by D, D being the 2nd. Because it's up an octave, we refer to it as the 9th. So here we go. And then the verse finishes on a G. So now we come to the pre-chorus, and we're going to drop to the B minor. So if you take your A minor shape here, everybody knows this. And then we're going to take it up 2 frets. So our bass note is the B on the 2nd fret of the A string, like so. And then to A minor, followed by C major, followed by D major. So that's the first half. The second half, the chords alter slightly. So the first chord you'll play the second time round is an E minor, followed by a B minor, followed by a C major, followed by D major, which we then resolve back on the G major for the motif. And that's your song. So if that's all you wanted to know, thank you very much for being here and getting this far. Now we're going to take a look at those verse and chorus chords again, and I'm going to show you some ways that I would play them to make them sound bigger. Not necessarily bigger, but give them a more open sound and make the use of open chords and other things so that there's more drone notes. So if we take the verse, the second chord, which is a D major, we can play as a D sus2 with an F sharp in the bass. So the F sharp's here. You can thumb that with your thumb. That would be thumbing. If you were to do it with your finger, don't need to tell you that. And then you leave the open E here, like so. Okay, so that's the first one. So if I just apply that to the context of the verse in general. What I just did there with the C major chord was put the G in the bass. So if you take your C major chord, but play the C on the 3rd fret of the A string with your little finger, you can then use your ring finger to play the G on the bass. And then obviously those movements which I showed you for the major 7 and the major 9, you can then apply with the G still in the bass. Now coming on to the pre-chorus. Now you can play this as a minor 7 that way. So if we just take A minor like this, so if we play it like this, it's more familiar. Just simply remove the ring finger, like so. But if you take your D sus2 shape I showed you, and instead of playing the F sharp in the bass, you put the B in the bass, that's always been a very moody voicing of B minor I've found as time's gone on. It's been very helpful. Like so. And then we come to C major, so G in the bass for C major. Then F sharp in the bass of the D sus2. Like so. And then come to E minor. So this voicing here is D, so it's a minor 7. So if you take your first 2 fingers and play the 2nd fret on the A and the D string, that's E minor, everybody's favourite chord, the Satan chord. Hoo-ha. And then we'll play them with your first 2 fingers, as I just said. And then you take your your ring finger, and apply it to the 3rd fret of the B string. That's a minor 7. And then you can play the G on top of that at the 3rd fret of the E string. And then that's a fancy E minor, Noel Gallagher E minor. So then we're going to go to B minor, which I've showed you the voicing for B minor there, C major there, D major there. So altogether, if we were to play it, not necessarily fancy but different. Hello, old friend. Really good to see you once again. Hello, old friend. Really good to see you once again. So that's the song. It's 3 parts. There's the chorus line, main motif, main melody, however you want to refer to it. There's the verse. And then there's the pre-chorusy bit. So if you got this far, thank you very much for spending some of your precious time on me. Like, share and subscribe and all that nonsense.